What's poppin', world? I hope all is well. Thanks for tuning in. I know many of you saying, hey man, what's up? Long time no see. Yeah, I had to take a break from the content creation space, step out, catch a breath of fresh air. Now I'm back in the game. But without further ado, today we're going to talk about this video that's been floating around the internet of Dr. Umar Johnson blaming black men for or as to why black women are masculine, right? He's blaming black men as to why black women are masculine. We're going to watch this clip. It's maybe about 2 or 3 minutes long. I'm going to give my breakdown of it. I want you all to let me know what you think in the comment section. Let's get into this.
Or was it the system that was?
It was systemic. All right. So how, if we giving them grace for them having to do it without us, but it wasn't our fault, how are we not getting that same grace and that same respect?
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Because black men, as the leaders of the community, now
we can't be leaders.
Here's the question we got to make. Here's the question. Because the argument y'all make, feeds into the feminist agenda.
Okay.
It's an argument that says I don't want the responsibility.
I'm a leader.
I don't want to fix shit. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna fall back and let her run everything. That's what the feminists tell. They say, look at them, making excuses for why they can't be better men, making excuses for why they can't make better men. You understand? Your argument feeds the feminist narrative.
That's not what we're making excuses for.
I'm saying I am the better man, but I shouldn't be held responsible because you wanted to choose a Pookie and a Ray Ray. That's not me. I work too hard in my life.
Back to what I said. Pookie and Ray Ray shouldn't exist. And the only reason why Pookie and Ray Ray exist because we're not in the community making those boys the men they need to be. Do you see that? And she don't get a Pookie if you didn't allow a Pookie.
But she got an Eli. She ain't come to Eli. She went to Pookie. And that's what we're trying to say.
She wouldn't have had a Pookie if we didn't allow one.
Hard in my life.
She wouldn't have had a Pookie if we didn't allow one.
But Dr. Umar,
men supposed to make the braids the boys.
Right. We as men, let's holding other men accountable for the same thing that you're talking about right now.
What are we doing for the young brothers in the street? So
what you mean, mentoring them? Now, I mean, he's a great father.
I ain't talking. That's individual. That's good, but that's individualism.
Yeah.
What are we doing collectively as men to change the trajectory for black boys in the streets right now? Nothing.
We're being
but talking shit.
Yeah, I mean, you could take
it's not going to get better unless we put hands on deck. The reason the athletes and the rappers are the role models is the professional black man moved out the hood. Where the dentist at? He ain't in the black community no more. Where the lawyer at? Where the business owner at? Where your city council person at? We abandon black boys and then we blame black men for poor choices in mates that they should not even have to make if we did a better job raising our boys the right way. At the end of the day, if I'm going to call myself a man, the ultimate responsibility for reconstruction of the black community rests with me. Yes, they have a role. Yes, they have responsibility. But as a man, as a leader, to say I can't fix this shit unless she changes, that's not the definition of a man.
I don't see. I think we're on two different chords.
If you're shopping for your first rental property, then you definitely need our free rental analysis calculator.
I don't think we're saying that. What I'm saying is I'm capable of being that leader, that provider. I've worked hard in my life. You get what I'm saying? I should not have to.
You still going back to individualism.
But I only feel like we tell black men that we have to now deal with masculine women, women with children.
Why is she masculine? Because she had to raise the kids alone, not one woman,
so
brother.
You mean to tell me,
a whole community.
So you mean to tell me the only woman I can look forward in my life is a masculine woman that has kids by other men?
No,
that's what I have to look forward to.
But I'm telling you, mistakes made by black men systemically gave rise to the conditions that allowed her to be masculine and made her end up with a man that you consider to be less than what he should be. And I'm telling you, black men are responsible for her being masculine because we have not helped her raise them children.
I am
and
not.
when I say help them raise them children, I don't mean you as the stepdad.
No,
I mean you as an active member in the community where we go to every single parent black mother and say, how many sons you got? 2? How many sons you got? 2? Well, guess what? That's your son's big brother. That's your son's big brother. He taking him to school. He doing the homework. He gonna spend a couple hours with him every Saturday. He got his own kids too, but he gonna make time for you. She got masculine because she had to become masculine in order to deal with the rape, the abuse, the domestic violence, the disappointments that men had in her life, and also raising those kids and have to take care of herself all at the same time. The black woman has been the be all in all in our community for half of a century, and now we want to turn around and say because she didn't do it perfectly enough or remain feminine enough when she had to absorb our responsibilities plus her own, that's insensitive and disingenuous.
Woo-wee. All right, guys. Sorry for that long clip. I was not trying to keep you that long on that video. But you saw that, you heard that. Let's break all of that down, right? There was a lot to unpack in that video, right? So, Dr. Umar Johnson is saying that it is black men's fault that black women are masculine, right? The failure of black men as leaders has caused most or all of the black women to be in their quote-unquote masculine energy, right? Now, here's the thing. Some of the points he made some good points. Some of the points he made are to a degree invalid. Now, he's saying that many of these women are masculine because they had to raise these children by themselves. All right, let's tackle that point first. Anytime a woman has a child or children, right, it is her choice as to who she decides to lay down and have these children with, right? We cannot get away from that fact, right? It is the woman's choice as to who she decides to have these children with, right? Men don't have birthrights, right? It's totally up to the woman as to if she wants to have a child or not, right? Now, remember, women control access to sex. Men control access to marriage and relationships. That is why the man has to ask the woman if she will marry him, right? Now, it is up to that woman to have children out of wedlock. It is up to that woman to have unprotected sex with the man who she is not married to. It is up to that woman to lay down and have kids with the man who she wouldn't marry. A lot of women have sex and children with men who they know they would not marry, right? But they may find some type of physical attraction in that man, right? Or whatever it may be. But women control access to sex. So if you got a handful of women out here having babies by no good guys, right? Pookies, Ray Rays, whatever you want to call them, right? If they're having children by these men, then who do you initially put the blame on? Now, I'm not taking responsibility off the men, because I believe that as a man, if you ejaculate in a woman, right, and she has a child, you are also responsible for helping raise that child, right? So I'm not taking responsibility off the men. However, women do hold access to sex. Women hold access to sex. Now, he also spoke about men as a collective going into the communities and helping raise these boys, right? Raise these young men. And he said Pookies and Ray Rays wouldn't exist if you had good, strong black leaders in the community, and if these black professionals like dentists, doctors, so on, so forth, lawyers would not lead the community. If they stayed in the community and helped build the community, help build up the boys, then you wouldn't have Pookies and Ray Rays. That's actually not true. You're always going to have men and women in every community of any race, of all races, that are underachievers, that mooch off of other people, right? Who are freeloaders, right? Who don't do what they're supposed to do. Remember, this is the devil's world, right? You're going to always have people who do evil. Now, it is up to the women to decide as to whether they're going to deal with these types of guys, have kids with these types of guys, so on and so forth. It's up to the women to decide that, right? A man has to show his worth. It's always been that way. A man has to show his worth. A man has to gain his value, right? As he ages, right? He's got to do things to prove himself. A woman is born with her value. She just has to keep it, right? She just has to not ruin it, not ruin herself, right? Not taint herself, right? Not defile herself, right? She has to keep her value. But a man has to earn his value, right? By doing things within the society, right? A man has to earn his value. So it's up to that woman to decide if she want to have kids with this man or not. So if she has kids with a man who gets her pregnant and bounces, right? In most cases, she did not do a good job of vetting that man. She didn't do a good job, right? She saw something in him that she liked, and she rolled with it, right? But she didn't vet him well enough to see if this man would be a husband, right? Or even if he was going to say be a husband, she didn't vet him enough to see if he'd be a good husband, right? So there are many parts of this argument that you have to break down. And then also, you can't expect men who are successful, right? Men who come out of the community who are successful, you can't expect them to stay in the community forever, right? If they want to move or relocate themselves or their families to a nicer area, you can't knock them for that. You can't knock them for that. It is what it is. And every race and community of people do that, right? Whether you're talking about Hispanics, whites, Asians, it don't matter. They draw a line in the sand, right? There are other people of their same race who live a low-class lifestyle, and they go off and live, in a higher status lifestyle, right? And they don't look back. They don't look back in most cases, right? They draw a line in the sand. They separate themselves. In our community, in the black community, when people separate themselves, people get mad. People don't like that, right? It's a problem. Oh, he Uncle Tom, right? He a coon. He this, he that. He all kind of names, right? He's a sellout, right? If he goes and lives somewhere else, right, that he feels like is a better economical place for him and his family. It's a problem, right? It's a problem. And then he spoke about, you had other guys on the panel saying that they were great fathers, they were mentors, so on and so forth. And he said, well, you know what? That's you, and that's you, and that's you, and that's individualism, right? So some of that I agree with, as far as in our community, there is a lot of individualism going on, and that is not the answer, right? But at the same time, I hear some people do a great breakdown of how if you want to succeed in life, you're going to have to be selfish to a degree, right? You're going to have to focus on you and get you right before you can get somebody else right. So I also see it that way, right? I also see it that way. Now, back to the women. It's 2023. These women can decide if they want to be feminine, if they want to follow a man's leadership, if they want to be submissive like it speaks of in the Bible. They can decide that. But most of them are choosing not to. Why? Because they're making their own money. They're getting their own degrees. They've got their own careers. They're getting their own houses, cars, so on and so forth, right? They're getting to the bag. So many of these women, they are raised to be independent. This has nothing to do with them having to raise kids by themselves. Many of these women are quote unquote independent before they have any kids, right? Or I don't even want to say they're independent before they have kids. Let me say this. They're in their masculine energy well before they have kids. They're already in their masculine energy. So you can't blame it on that. You can't just say, oh, it's because they had kids that they had to raise by themselves, so they had to do both. They had to play mommy and daddy, and that's what turned them into masculine women. Nah, that's not always the case. I would argue in this day and age, in most cases, they're raised that way. They're raised to not need a man, right? They're raised to not follow a man's leadership. They're raised to do their own thing. In this day and age, they're raised to be independent. So you can't just say, oh, there was a lack of black leaders. You have a lot of women who have their fathers in their life, and their father assisted in raising them that way as to where they wouldn't need a man. Their father is a part of that program. Their father is a part of that ideology of, you don't need a man. Go do this, go do that. You don't need a man. Don't depend on a man. Their father helped raise them that way, right? This black, quote unquote, black leader man, black leader father raised them that way. So you can't just say, oh, we have a lack of the black leaders, black men, so this is why the women turn out to. No, that's not always the case. That is not always the case. And I would say most time in this day and age, that's not the case, right? Sure, it would help to have more quote unquote black leaders in the community. That would help. You would eliminate some of the quote unquote Pookies and Ray Rays, sure. And some of these women may be better off, sure. And these boys would be better off, sure. But in a lot of cases, these women are strong, independent, and masculine because they were raised that way, and they choose to be that way because they're making their own money and they have their own jobs, they have their own careers, and they have their own degrees, right? And not to mention, don't forget about the music. What is the music pumping out? Hot Girl Summer. You Don't Need a Man. All this independent stuff. The music is, our music in the black community is pumping that message out there, right? The music is pumping it out there. Let's not forget about that. The TV shows, the reality shows, right? It's all over the place. It's a lot of propaganda out there, right? Pushing black men and women against each other, right? It is as if black women are trying to shrink the black man so that they can succeed and do what they got to do, right? Or so they don't have to listen to a black man, right? They're setting out to shrink the black man for different reasons, right? And it's ridiculous. That is why these women are masculine. It's not because, oh, you don't have a lot of strong black men. There are plenty of men in the black community that are strong, successful, independent, doing their thing, right? Leaders, leading, mentoring, being great fathers, right? All of the above. You have a lot of black men doing the right thing out here. But these black women don't care. They're still going to be masculine. They're still going to do their own thing, right? We can't blame stuff that happened back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Oh, this is why, it's the black man's fault. He was weak. No. Women are being raised that way these days. These women are choosing to be masculine. They're being raised to be masculine. They're being raised to be independent, right? Stop blaming the black man for everything negative that goes on. Stop blaming the black man. That's all I got on this topic. Thanks for watching. Like this video, share this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I could be off. Also, subscribe to the YouTube. Peace the Beast. Subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And again, keep God first. I love you all. Be blessed.